Welcome to Universally Judged with Sierra Burchell. On the Universally Judged podcast, we share the stories that you haven't heard from pageant title holders, models, content creators, and actors. In each interview, our guests share a behind-the-scenes look at their life and the lessons they've learned along their journey. This podcast is created in collaboration with Dive Through, a mental wellness company that helps people dive through what they're going through.
Welcome back to the Universally Judged podcast. Today I chat with my friend Alyssa Boston, Miss Universe Canada 2019. Alyssa gives us a look into what it was like to represent Canada at Miss Universe 2019 held in Atlanta, Georgia. She shocked the world when she stepped on stage wearing a cannabis-inspired costume. Alyssa gives us a look on why she decided to wear this cannabis costume, what it means to her, and what she is doing now. Enjoy my conversation with Alyssa. Welcome, Alyssa Boston, to the Universally Judged podcast. Alyssa was Miss Universe Canada 2019. Yeah. And she is fabulous. Many people know Alyssa because she wore the cannabis-inspired costume at the National Costume Competition held in Atlanta, Georgia at Miss Universe. You made quite a scene, and I mean, people call you brave, they call you bold. What do you call yourself for wearing that costume?
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you again. I honestly, it was such an amazing experience. I mean, competing at Miss Universe is a dream come true for us, and getting to represent Canada in a way that nobody else has ever done before was pretty cool. And I really like to stand up for the cannabis industry, and not a lot of people, especially in the pageant industry, know much about it. So it's great to be able to sit on that stage and kind of advocate for something that nobody ever thought a beauty queen would. So
beautiful. And it was definitely a moment that I wish that everyone could feel what it was like to have been at that national costume competition, because for those who have no idea even what we're talking about, at Miss Universe, there is a national costume competition, and each woman representing her country comes out wearing a costume. And you came out wearing this absolutely extravagant cannabis-inspired green feathers, sparkles, and seriously, the audience gasped. They were like, oh my gosh.
I love that you heard that too.
Yeah. And so you felt that when you came out, didn't you? That is so
I
cool.
of standing at the end of the stage, I just kind of took that moment in and was like, this just happened. And everyone was also aware of what happened, because I don't know if you really noticed, well, you did call it feathers, the peacock feathers that were all over my costume. We had a big argument about not keeping those on. And when Columbia saw that I had those feathers on, she was almost disappointed too. She was like, why do you need all this extra stuff? The statement was good enough on its own. And I completely agreed with that. That was a whole process. Anyways, that's another topic for another day. But I love that the audience still gathered the fact that this was a cannabis costume and this is what I was representing. So I was just worried about it getting lost in translation. Right. So I'm happy people did it.
Yeah. And some people will probably think, okay, why does that represent Canada? How on earth does this cannabis situation represent Canada? You've talked a lot about this. Can you tell me again, why was that important for you to represent this industry? Just, I guess, some more thoughts behind why you wore such a statement costume.
Yes. So cannabis has been legal for 2 years now, I think. Yeah, in Canada, and we're the second country to legalize cannabis. And for me, I've never, actually, fun fact, I've never smoked pot before, ever.
That's so funny.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, because a lot of people always
obviously assume.
That. Yeah, obviously assume, huge stoner, all this stuff. But it's about it's about so much more than that. And I just want people to have the opportunity to be educated on this topic and to make a choice for themselves. So I've heard so many stories about how cannabis has helped people overcome drug addiction and kind of gotten them back into reality, back to their family. Even with mental illness, a lot of people were on the verge of suicide, and cannabis was the thing that kind of brought them back. And for me, hearing those stories, that's reason enough to be an advocate for the cannabis industry and have people be more open-minded. I know my parents were totally against me doing this at the beginning as well. So for me to be educating them through this whole journey, I've changed their mind, and they're way more open to it now. So it's okay to not be into it, and it's okay to be into it. It's just whatever is for you is what you should be allowed to do And it's good to get a good education on it, because I'm so much more educated on it than I ever was. And now I really believe in what it's done for so many people.
There's such a stigma around it, right? Which I think is exactly what you're saying, that you're trying to educate so that people can overcome the stigma. And then you mentioned as well something about mental health, it helping people with maybe like anxiety and stuff. Have you chatted with anyone who has been like, cannabis has been the thing to help me overcome my mental health or like improve my mental wellness?
Yeah, so many. And even when I do small little appearances in weed communities or weed stores or award shows, a lot of people will always say it saved my life. And
Wow.
Not only did it medically, but it also brings you into a sense of community. The whole cannabis industry, every time you walk into a dispensary or you talk to people in it, it's such a good vibe, and it's everyone's on the same page and accepting and open to having new people come into this community. So not only does it save people medically and internally, but also like emotionally, and creating new friendships and starting a new lifestyle gives people like hope and energy. One of my close friends actually was addicted to opioids for a while, and cannabis was the one thing that kind of saved her life, and is the reason why she's now a mom. She's killing it. She actually has done amazing things across the world. So for people to hear those stories, it's really important for me to kind of shine light on that and make sure it's accepted.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. I think the stigmas that surround all of it, people obviously are opinionated. You know, we can all agree to disagree on certain things. But with that, with people disagreeing with you, I'm sure you were met with some interesting comments, trolls. I watched this video of you reading comments. And did you ever have a moment that you felt like, okay, this person doesn't agree with me, but like, were you ever like threatened or anything? Because some people are super, super passionate about this world. Did you ever have a moment that you're like, okay, whoa, maybe I shouldn't have done this?
Yeah, honestly, I was prepared to regret it. Not regret it, but be like, maybe that wasn't the best choice. But I honestly don't. And I think Canada, even though Canada doesn't support pageants as much as we would like them to, I think Canada had a really good outlook and was really excited to see me representing the cannabis industry. And I know a lot of people who aren't into pageants at all would reach out to me and kind of give me credit for doing this. So I kind of brought attention to the pageant industry from an outside world that doesn't really follow it. But internationally, I know it was not taken well. And in many pageant countries, the cannabis industry is non-existent or very illegal. So internationally, I don't think it was taken as well, but nationally, I think it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think you shone a good light because, as we've kind of said, and as a lot of people know, they would know, pageants are not a big thing in Canada. People just like do not care at all. And you made a big statement. And then a few years ago, I think it was 2014, Miss Canada wore like the hockey costume. That also made a statement. Yeah. So I think
cool.
that was really cool to see too. And I think if you're going to make a statement, I mean, why not have it be something that you can educate people on? I mean, everyone knows about hockey, so that wasn't as much of a thing, but I feel like you just made a fabulous statement and really opened a lot of people's eyes, because I'm pretty naive with this industry. And so I think the fact that it's helped so many people overcome big challenges in their lives, I think that's amazing. Back to you and your experience at Miss Universe. You talked a little bit about this, like it was amazing, life-changing. What were some of the highlights? Like, what if someone doesn't know anything about pageants, what story can you tell them to like make them feel like they were there with you at Miss Universe in Atlanta?
Oh my God, yeah. Atlanta was crazy. And I mean, it's just like any life experience, as great as it can be equally that bad. So I just think, honestly, it was just as glamorous as it always looks from the outside. It is never that way. And I mean, you know this best too. So just like, yeah, enjoying every moment. And I watched a couple of the other episodes that you had, and just kind of hearing the other girls I competed with, or like some of their experiences. It's so awesome to listen to how everyone saw it. But Miss Dominican Republic, how she was saying it was only 10 days. And I was like, I know, because you barely get to even talk to so many girls that we probably would have all been so close. So that's the one thing that doesn't, like, but it's funny that we're talking about it now because we wanted that to happen. Like, we want those friendships. We want to be friends with everybody and meet everyone, where from an outside perspective, everyone thinks that we're there just to win, you know?
Right. So it's a big competition.
That's the one thing. Yeah, and it's like, it's all about the friendships. And Miss Israel was my roommate, and she was awesome. We had such a good time together. And yeah, I think the events, as much as we didn't travel around Atlanta too much, we did get to go to a lot of events. In the Sick Kids Hospital we went to, and me, Singapore, and Colombia got to talk at Ryan Seacrest Studios, which was so amazing because it kind of took away from the competition, and we were just focusing on the kids. And I remember like we were trying to tell jokes to them and make them laugh, and it was just like a lighthearted, fun time that it wasn't about the competition. This is what it's actually about, and that's what people don't really know about pageants. But I think my biggest thing for me about Miss Universe is I love the stage, the production, behind the scenes, everything, and the guys who actually run it. I don't know if it was the same for your year. It probably was, but they actually do the Grammys and like the American Music Awards. Like, it's that whole team that did our production. So this is the best of the best. And if you ever want to be in this industry, this is where you meet these people. So I was like amazed by how organized it was, how strict it was, and how even when the TV would turn off and commercial would come on, how everyone's just like talking to each other and chilling and stuff. It's so funny because you don't see that when you watch it every other year, you know. So it was a good experience.
That's so cool. It is like so interesting, and to be behind the scenes and see them like with their white gloves, like giving the girls direction. Exactly. And on TV, everything just looks so smooth and wonderful. And what people don't know is that you rehearsed for hours and hours and hours. And it truly is a show. Like, it's not like you just showed up. It's a true show with a major production team. Did you ever have a moment that you're like, oh my God, this is like an out of body experience? Like, how did I get here? I'm at Miss Universe wearing the Canada sash. Like, did it ever feel surreal?
Yeah, it did, because I think I posted this on Instagram the other day. I was practicing for top 10 in rehearsal, and Steve called Canada, and it was the most amazing moment. And Dennis and Sunny were in the audience, so they were like watching my face. It was so cool, and I was like, oh my God, Steve Harvey just said Canada out loud. And I'm so happy they got that on recording. It was so cool. Yeah, I mean, the whole experience, I could not believe. I think when I got there, I wasn't as excited until like the show production kind of started, and I was like, okay, this is real. And then for Miss Universe Canada, I don't know if any of your coaches ever told you this, but like, you always want to be in A group, right? Like, so when you compete, so I'm thinking for Miss Universe, okay, I obviously want to be at the front of the dance. So I just remember trying to position myself in each group, like standing at the right spot to be in the first group, and then somehow USA and I get put together right behind the singer at the opening number, and I was like, oh my God, this is all working out so well.
There you go. That's awesome.
So yeah, I felt like a backup dancer, which was a pretty cool dream of mine. So
that's so cool.
That came true too.
Just casually, Justin Bieber's backup dancer, Miss Canada. Yeah. There she is. During the competition, did you ever have a moment that you're like, okay, if I don't win, this is who I want to win? Like, did you ever have a moment where you knew that there was someone else that if you were a judge that you would choose?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I've said this before on a podcast or anything, but yeah, Colombia was just like my girl. Yeah. I don't know why. I just was blown away by Colombia. But I wasn't too worried about who would win. Like, I was just like enjoying everything, that I never really thought too much about it. As obviously the competition went closer and closer, I really thought USA was going to do better than she did. I really loved Chesley. So I thought she was going to be like first runner-up or win or something. So I wasn't too focused on who the winner would be, but I'm happy Zoe won. I mean, she killed it. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know. You and I have talked a lot about this, like behind the scenes. But I think that's really important to hear, not just for pageant girls, but just for people in life, because I think a lot of times from the outside, it's like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking, or I wonder in your case, like who she thinks is going to win, when you're actually just there enjoying the experience, making friends, taking it in. Whereas from a spectator perspective, it's like we're looking at the end goal or like end situation, and to know that you were in the moment, like living in it, I think that's really important to hear. And talking about all of that, you and I have talked a lot about women supporting women. And for those who don't really know, I'm going to set the scene a little bit. So when I won Miss Universe Canada, and like previous girls before me, there was not really a lot of support from the fellow women or from really anybody. You're very much alone. And when you won, and honestly, the girls, I mean, Lauren and then Marta and then you, I never really reached out to any of you, because I don't even really have a good reason, a good excuse. Like, truly, it just was me not fully supporting my fellow women. And I've apologized to you because I was there in Atlanta and I didn't support you the way that I should have. And so, I've talked a lot about this, but why do you think it's so important? Like, for me as well, I posted on my Instagram stories about this and people were like, wow, you're so brave, like saying like sorry publicly. And I'm like, no, I think like I was just like basically a bitch. Like, I didn't really like show my public support of like this girl who I truly like. You and I were friends before. And I mean, I feel like, we remain friends, but why I think to myself, I'm like, why didn't I show my support for her? Why didn't I say like, oh, I'm proud of Alyssa, and all of that? Like, what is it? You've never been like this, or you've never had these moments and you want to now support other women. Like, why do you think women are like this? Why do we do this?
It's crazy because I still talk to some people and I still get these responses, and I just can't believe that it's not getting better. Mm-hmm. And for me, what I did at Miss Canada was making sure that everybody was going to support the winner no matter what, because there's no family, there's no friends. And that was my mission the whole time I was there as the reigning queen. Honestly, I know we don't have the best experience here in Canada, and I think we just, like we said before, we take it out on each other almost, but it's not about the winner. And I think the hardest thing for me was you saying the stuff you said when I won, and knowing me is what bothered me. If we didn't know each other, I would be like, okay, maybe she thought somebody else should have won. But the fact that you knew me and then still couldn't support me was kind of what bothered me at that point. But yes, we have talked about that, so that's okay. I just think that I don't ever want to say it's jealousy, because I don't think it stems from there, because I mean, we don't really get much more after. So I don't know what it is, but it's just this bitterness of our experience not going the best way, and you can take two paths. And for me, my Miss Universe experience didn't go the way I wanted to, so I wrote everything down of why it went wrong, and I gave it to Nova, and I said, take this and don't make the same mistake. And that alone, I wish I had that. And Marta I love too, but I never had that relationship with anybody who could be like, this is going to happen, remember this, and then don't do it. So yeah, I just think over the years we've never had it, so no one ever really wanted to start it, I guess. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I think, well, I mean, you've made some changes, obviously, by showing your support. And I think maybe part of it is just like that I was so alone. So like, I'm not going to show the support of somebody else without knowing where that's coming from. I mean, for myself, I remember when I was Miss Universe Canada, I remember chatting with like Lauren and some other girls and basically being like, oh my God, I'm so alone, and like telling them how bad of an experience it was, but then they went ahead and competed anyways. So I think that it was like, whoa, like I thought I warned them, and then they competed anyways and like didn't really take my word for it. So maybe there was like a sense of like, even though I've shared what it was like, it didn't matter. So then what's the point? You know what I mean? So
okay.
I mean, again, like there's no excuse. There's no, it doesn't make it right. But I think the fact that you, no matter what, you're showing your support, you're being like, here's what I did, here's what happened. And like making Nova, the new Miss Universe Canada, feel supported no matter what. And whatever she decides to do, that you gave her the information. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think as well, like you said, maybe it's not a thing of jealousy, but maybe just women thinking, well, I went through it. Like, I had to do it the hard way, so she's going to have to do it too. Like, maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even have a good reason.
No, I agree. Well, the biggest thing I'm going through right now is I love Miss Universe and I love Nova, but I also am out of the pageant world, Right. So I think it's also that disconnect that after you put in all this work, you're kind of just done and like need a solid break, because I'm like kind of involved in some conversations for her stuff at Miss Universe, and I just kind of tap out of the conversation sometimes because I'm not into pageants the way I used to be. So that may have a take too, because after something takes a toll on you for so long, you kind of just want to disconnect from it for a bit. And I know a lot of girls Miss Canada girls in the past feel that way. So
that's true. And I think I reached out to some former queens when I was Miss Universe Canada, and I don't want to say got a cold response, but I would either get a very short response or not a response at all, because I felt like they as well were like, I have moved on, I don't want to talk about it. And so I think for those who don't know, you've been involved in pageants for a long time. You first competed at Miss Universe Canada, was it 2014?
Yeah.
And you didn't place, and then you ended up winning these years later. But I think that maybe from my perspective, I'm like, oh, she knows what's happening. She doesn't need my help. And maybe I was like waiting for you to ask me questions. I don't really know. But the ultimate message,
that too.
I don't know what it was. And I never got a message from you. So I was like, oh, she must be good. And like, it looked like you were doing so much behind the scenes. So maybe that's part of it. But I think ultimately what I've learned moving forward is pageants, anything, is to always reach out to people and say like, hey, just thought, I'd let you know if you ever have any questions, like let me know, and just allow people to know that we support them. Like no matter what it is, pageants, life, that we're there for people, whether they have questions, need a quick call, anything like that. So I think it's just life. We learn things the hard way sometimes, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And that's okay. And that's when it comes into the whole forgive, and move forward and start something to make the situation better, and that somebody else doesn't have this experience. Like, especially, I don't know, it's crazy. But yeah, moving forward, like I hope we can all come together. Even girls that win the 2020 in their country, whatever pageant they're winning, I love to like reach out and be like, oh, congrats, like good job. You never know, like exactly what you said, like who needs to talk or who needs some little sense of encouragement when things might get like too rough.
And I think just as women, we don't want to admit we're wrong, and we also want to like push things under the carpet and like pretend they didn't happen rather than address them. So that's why I think with you and I, we were like, okay, you told me how you felt. I was like, I am genuinely so sorry, because that wasn't right. That wasn't right of me. I'm embarrassed that I didn't support you and what have you. So I think the fact that we were able to like address that, then going forward, I feel like it makes us like have a better friendship. And that's what I think people are afraid to do, is like actually address something, especially women. We don't want to like hurt each other's feelings, yet we already hurt each other's feelings. It's ridiculous. But I think the biggest thing is just being open and being like, hey, this bothered me, this hurt me, I want to let you know. And then I think just opening that conversation can be so helpful just in life, period.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
I agree. We made some good progress forward.
Yeah, exactly. And we're moving forward. We're moving on. What else did I want to ask you about Miss Universe Canada? Because overall, like we've said, people don't know much about pageants in Canada. You really took the reins on your experience. As much as not everything went as you planned, you had such a strong platform of like wearing the cannabis costume, raising awareness, educating, having a good experience. You wanted to take in the whole experience of Miss Universe when you were at Miss Universe. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently, that you would have changed, or anything like that?
How long do we have?
Let's see. Okay. Okay.
The list goes on. And even when I think back, this is kind of off topic, but also on topic, is with like the coronavirus starting full lockdown in March. So I was only Miss Canada for not too long. And then this whole thing happened, and all my bookings I was supposed to travel to Tokyo, Hollywood, Miami, Toronto to all speak at this cannabis award, and in Denver to do a whole presentation. They wanted my costume there. Like so many amazing opportunities, and they all got canceled because of this. And there's two ways to look at it. I can sit here and say, poor me, or now I just have to work harder to get those experiences back and to keep pushing my platform forward. I know, after Miss Universe, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Not anything to do with Miss Universe itself, but where my platform, where I wanted it to go.
Right.
And I think having those opportunities would have helped me move forward quicker. But now I just know that it's a longer play for me, and that's okay. So I think the biggest thing is like accepting that things don't always go the right way, and you just have to accept that this is what happened and move forward, because you can't change it. So like Miss Universe, when I got there, there's a list of 100 things that went wrong. My roommate was actually dying laughing at me. She's like, is this your first pageant? Like, are you good? Like everyone thought chaperone, oh my God. She thought it was my first pageant. It was hilarious.
And you had been in
never done
pageants
this
for
before.
like so many years.
Ever. She's like, are you like okay? It was bad.
That's so funny.
But yeah, the first day I literally accepted it. I was like, okay, this is not what I was supposed to do for my life. I'm so happy to be here, but let's just enjoy the moment. And that's the best advice I could always give when it comes to stuff like that, because there's things you can't control, and you just have to do the best you can, and whatever happens kind of happens after that.
Do you mean like when you got there, you were like, okay, I feel like I'm not going to win Miss Universe, so I'm going to enjoy the experience? Or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so the way I compete, and this is just a personal experience in the way I do pageants since I've done them for so long, I know when something's right, and I have that
intuition
feeling of, just like, this is what I was meant to do. And I remember holding Mega's hand, not even at the final, before the final even started. I had that feeling like, if this is meant for me, it's going to work out, because of this whole situation and how I prepared and how things are going. I just have a feeling.
At Miss Universe Canada.
At
Miss Universe Canada, okay.
And then at Miss Universe, nothing went right. And not that you can't still do well when things don't go right. But one of my best friends actually does the best every time nothing goes right for her at a pageant. So things are always different for everybody else. But for me, I just think I need like A, B, C, D in a row, and then I'm ready to excel in the competition. And for me, none of those things were ready. So at that point, it's not a giving up feeling. It's more of just accepting, like, this is all I came with, and I have to do with what I got. So let's do the best I can. Right. And whatever happened was going to happen, type of thing.
I can resonate with that, because when I went to Miss Universe, I showed up in the Philippines, literally didn't even have a single gown. I didn't have a prelim gown. I didn't have a final gown. And I didn't know that I could like go on my social media and be like, hey, are there any gown designers that I could borrow a gown? Because I didn't really know if that was allowed. But I think I had that similar feeling. I did have that similar feeling of whatever happens, happens. I'm going to do the best I can. But there were moments that I felt so defeated, because I see a country like France, who ended up winning Miss Universe 2016. She has like literally hundreds of outfit options, dozens of pairs of shoes, like the most high-end quality designer gowns, outfits. She's got like Louboutins. She's like, it was next level. And I'm like, oh my God.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm over here like wearing my $40 Lulu's dress and like that I've worn for the last few years. So I think there are those moments where you're like, oh my God, I don't belong, or I'm not prepared. But I think no matter what in life, going forward with that attitude of, I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm here. I'm in the moment. I think that's just really important to remember and to carry with you in life.
Yeah, I agree. And that really goes to anything you do in life, even if it's just a job or a sport or anything. There's always people who are above you and below you.
That's
so
true.
You just kind of, do your best you can. I remember Zosie and I were sitting backstage, and I think everything was packed for her. I don't think she paid for anything, and everything was like labeled for her. No way. She was ready to go. And that's just who their country is. That's how their organization works. And instead of being like envy and jealous of it, it's just like amazing to hear. I was like, oh my God, tell me more. Like, how did this happen? Like, tell me how it works, because we don't have that same experience. And even one of my first pageants in Egypt, Miss Philippines, who ended up winning, she got like spending money to bring to Egypt. She had like everything was paid. It was the craziest thing ever. And I loved hearing those stories because that's not how it is in Canada. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, you can only do with what you can. And I mean, I always compare pageants to hockey, which is really Canadian of me. But it's like when we compete in the Olympics. Everyone's terrified to play against Team Canada, because that's all we do here. We live and breathe hockey, right? So this is other countries' pride and joy, and this is what they do for their whole life. They grow up doing this. So just because it's not for you one year, it's okay. That's an experience.
That's a really great point. That's what I've tried to explain to people when they're like, you have a YouTube channel and you talk about pageants, like what the hell do you mean? I'm like, actually it's like when you turn on Sportsnet or something like that, and they're all talking about the athletes, how much they make, what they've done to prepare. That's what I do, but talking about pageant contestants, and still people don't really get it. But no, that's a great way to look at it, is that some countries, pageants are a big deal, like a big deal. Like these girls, when they win the national title, they're instant celebrities. They have a car, like you said, with Miss South Africa. They've got an apartment. They win a bunch of money. Basically, they're set for life. Like in the Philippines, for sure, like these women,
you're
like,
laughing.
yeah, they're set. Yeah. And so here it just is such a different thing. But I also love what you said about basically like admiring what other people have, like, oh wow, that's so great, good for them, but not allowing it to impact you in your life. And I think that's something we do so often, is compare ourselves and feel bad about ourselves because we might not have what other people have. And I think that's honestly such an important message, especially with this day and age with social media. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, what other people have. So the fact that you were able to sit backstage at Miss Universe, talk to the girl who ended up winning and being like, wow, she had her like dresses, earrings, whatever labeled, like that's so cool, rather than having that feeling of, I mean, maybe you wish that you had that, but not allowing that to impact your experience being backstage. Like I think that's great to admire, but also just appreciate what you have, and then the fact that their experience was a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we're human, so obviously we want what we want, and things aren't always rainbow and butterflies, but for the most part, to always change your mindset to keep thinking towards just appreciating and admiring what somebody else has, because somebody's looking at you and thinking the same way.
It's true.
Like we went to Miss Universe, you know?
It's true.
You know how many girls are killed to do that? So that in itself was all I've ever dreamt of, and that came true for me, and I was pretty excited about that. So.
Yeah, that's another great point, because I've talked to girls who represented Canada at Miss Universe, and all I really hear is like more of like the complaining side of like how either they didn't place or they didn't win or this or that, and it was all like sad. And then I think what you just said, like so many people would kill to just be at Miss Universe, which we got to do. And so I think that's important to remember in life, is that people do look at us no matter what we're doing, where we are, and wish that maybe they had what we have. So really ourselves appreciating what we have, who we have in our lives is so important. And it's easy to compare, especially with social media. But let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about your pageant career, because I didn't really set the scene here. What was your first pageant? Was it Miss Universe Canada in 2014?
My first national one, I did a little coin fest one here, Miss Tecumseh.
Yes.
In my hometown, and I didn't place there.
Okay.
But Chelsea DeRoche, Miss Universe Canada 2011, was the host of the show with Sunny Borelli, who is the national regional manager. And they kind of scouted me and were like, oh, we're going to do a prelims here for Miss Universe Canada. If you want to do it, we think you'd be great. So I was like, okay, why not? And I was big into singing and acting, but I can't do either of those things very well. So I loved being on stage, but I was terrible at singing.
Yeah, me too.
So I thought this would be like a good happy medium, just still be on stage and get to perform. And so I did the prelims here in Windsor, and I made the top 5, and then I went to Miss Universe Canada in 2014. So technically my third pageant, but my first like big one.
That's cool. And then Miss Universe Canada 2014, and then you went to Egypt. When was that?
I think 2016.
Okay, so a couple years later. Okay.
Oh my God, maybe 2018. Because I chaperoned when you won.
Yeah,
and when
2016. Won. Yeah. Oh, right. So you were chaperone as well, which part of you, were you doing that so you could also see like behind the scenes? See, this girl, she's thinking literally years ahead. So you first competed in 2014.
Oh, after the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was done. I was ready.
You were ready.
Oh. Yeah. So I thought, I was like, how do I get in with these people?
Yeah.
How do I see how this works? How do
from
I
the inside.
learn from the inside and from you, like watching after you won, then being there with you the week after, watching Lauren win, being there the week. I mean, she wasn't there as much, I don't think, but and then watching Marta win. So I kind of got to see the ins and outs and learn from you guys too. But even like having the relationships with you guys to hear about your experience in 2016, I already knew what mine would be like in 2019 because I heard it from you first.
Wow.
You know, so that's why I truly love pageants, is why I really did it as well. But I always have the next step in my head that was kind of why I wanted to do it, as well as just really love walking and teaching the girls how to do all that fun stuff. But then I went to Egypt in 2018 for Miss Eco International. I didn't place there. Then I went to Miss World Canada in 2018, and I was first runner-up and won Miss Supranational Canada, which you are also a Miss Supranational, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I know, that is funny. Yeah, we've both had those national titles.
Yeah, I love it. And then I went to Miss Supra in Poland. I didn't place there. And then after Poland, I asked the director how I can win Miss Canada. So he gave me some advice, and he said, "You're so a Miss Universe girl." And I think that really kind of encouraged me to not give up, even though I never placed internationally and still have never. So I love it. But yeah, so it's good time. And then, so then I went to Miss Universe Canada and then won.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. What a journey. And I think I actually need to, take note of that, because I always find that if people have placed internationally, it's like, potentially a sign that they would place at a different pageant. But sometimes, like you said, when we chatted for our chat on my YouTube channel, you said that your preparation for one international pageant could be completely different than your preparation for Miss Universe. So basically, like, don't judge me by past experience, which I think from the outside, that's one of the only things that people can do is judge people from their past, presentations or whatever. But you're so right in that what we do in the past is not like what we might be doing in the moment or what we're planning on doing. So I just love the fact that you were like scoping it out. Did you know that 2019 was going to be the year you'd go for Miss Universe Canada? Or were you just kind of like waiting, thinking when the time is right, I'm going to know?
Yeah, it was more so like that. I did a lot of bikini contests internationally over those years in between. And I was just kind of ready. I was ready because I knew, like, some people could win Miss Canada or even Miss Universe at 18, 19. For me, it wasn't possible. I was 18 when I first competed, and I needed to grow. And some people could do it on their first try. I knew that wasn't for me either. So I think just being very self-aware on when you're ready and when it's right. And it could still not happen. I could have not won, and I don't know if I would have went back, to be honest. But yeah, I kind of felt it was right. Honestly, if it wasn't 2019, it would have been 2020. So it's funny.
That's awesome. Whatever's meant to be will be. I had moments where I was like, oh, I should have competed at a later time, like maybe after my law degree. And I was like, no, why? What? I got to represent Canada Miss Universe. Why do we always have that feeling of like going back? I should have done this and all that. I guess it's kind of human nature. But now you also mentioned, kind of taking a few steps back, that you had all these events planned when you were Miss Universe Canada. You were supposed to travel internationally. It all, was stopped in its tracks because of COVID. So what are you working on right now? I know you are starting a cooking show. Has it started?
It's
in the works.
It's building.
It's building?
Process,
Okay. Tell me about what you're working on now.
It's just a little tough because of the cannabis industry and the laws around it. Advertising and marketing is not allowed as of right now.
Okay.
So finding sponsors and kind of working with the people I want to work with is kind of the troubles we're having right now. But yeah, I just kind of want to do something fun, lighthearted. I mean, obviously, if people follow me or even saw our video, I'm very bubbly and outgoing and just like chill. And that's kind of like the persona that I want people to enjoy. So I think with cooking, it's super fun. Everybody cooks. And then add a little spice in there as marijuana. And
Salt Bay that cannabis on there.
Yeah, so there's a couple companies I'm trying to partner with, and depending on how the legal issue works out. But just something super fun, exciting, and a little bit of education, because I think it's important for people to understand what this does to you and why you would be taking it.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then what else do you do day to day? Like, what does your life look like for Alyssa Boston? Give us a glimpse inside.
Okay. Well, right now, not too much.
That's okay.
Due to the coronavirus. But I actually work for Kingsville Brewery, which is a local beer company. It's owned by a former NHL player who's also from Canada too. And I'm a marketing director. So awesome. I do that all day, every day. I love it. I love marketing and branding. And I've been working with a lot of cool people, getting to travel soon actually for work too, which is exciting.
That is exciting.
But yeah, I'm always doing something. And then I also just got another job doing content for a cannabis dispensary as well. So
that's fun.
I'm always busy. Always have to do 5 things at once.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that. I think that I love as well, having seen your journey, that I know that you're looking at things from a business point of view. Like, you're thinking about the marketing, you're thinking about how people perceive things. And I think that's something that people don't necessarily know maybe about the pageant world and us presenting ourselves on an international stage, is that a lot of it has to do with like marketing and how we want to be perceived and how we think we're going to be perceived. And there's a lot of like business stuff behind the scenes. when you were Miss Universe Canada at Miss Universe, did you ever have moments that you knew like, okay, this is definitely a business move, like on Miss Universe's behalf, or knowing that sponsors were maybe selecting you because you're representing Canada? I know you've told me a little bit about your Cirque du Soleil experience. Like, give people a light into that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that people don't realize, that pageants aren't fun. They're a business. And the company who owns this pageant has to make money. Otherwise, how do they pay their employees, right? So in the end, it is a business, and people just need to always keep that in mind. Like I said, I think people in the YouTube video kind of took it wrong when I said that I was treated like a favorite. I didn't mean it like I was a favorite, but I was treated that way because of being Canadian. Cirque du Soleil is a Canadian company. I got to speak at the live, and Chi sells their hair products in Canada. So obviously they want Miss Canada there. They want Miss Mexico there, whoever they sell to. So I think people need to realize that it's not anything personal, it's business.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing in pageants. I know for me, I was taking as many business cards as I can. I brought my own business cards. I was trying to keep that conversation going, because after this is done, who knows, maybe Chi wants to fly out 3 girls. You don't have to be the winner. There's always so much more opportunity. I'm big into production, so I actually got a couple of the guys their business cards too. So he was like, oh, if you ever want to like talk about production and work in this industry, let me know. So even that stuff, there's so much more than winning Miss Universe, that as long as you're open-minded and aware of other opportunities, you're a business too. You're your own business. You're your own entrepreneur. So work that field, and you're never going to get the opportunity in Miss Universe again. And that's the other thing that I always thought of, because I thought I wanted to be in pageants for a long time, but that's obviously changed now. And
you were in pageants for a long time, right? I think you've done very well.
But I thought I was going to continue that way, because Miss Universe, I was trying to work for Miss Universe after, like literally as an employee. That was in my head. That I actually wanted to either do marketing or social media for them, or even be like an assistant or something. I don't know what I wanted, but I wanted to be in New York. So I always kept that in the back of my mind. Okay, talk to the people who are going to make that decision, not to win Miss Universe, but to be an employee. So there's obviously so many opportunities that come with it, and life is like a business. So
it's true. It is.
Business cards everywhere.
It is just dealing business cards out everywhere you go. And
everywhere.
What did you change your mind after being at Miss Universe, that maybe you didn't want to work with the organization, or just maybe not be in pageants anymore, period? Like, what kind of changed your mind?
More of like pageants in general, not Miss Universe. I would work for Miss Universe in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they're a great organization.
Just coming home, I was really depressed when I came home, because my dream that I've worked for 7 years was over. Yeah. And I always have the next step in mind, and nothing really came from it right away. So I was like, okay, so now what do I do? And I remember just moping around, being so miserable, so upset, so depressed, and I didn't know how to get out of this funk. And I think I kind of was so turned off by pageants. It got to the point where I couldn't even watch reruns of Miss Universe 2019. I was so like, I couldn't look at it.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Honestly, I think that's understandable though, because I think, like you said, with anything, when people prepare so much for like a particular event or something and then it's over, honestly, even like Christmas, like people, I mean, this year is very different for a lot of people, but they buy gifts, they have all these preparations, and then all of a sudden it happens and it's over, and it's like, oh my God, what now? Like this big event and it just happened, and now what? But in your instance, it's for you, I mean, it was something that you thought, okay, there's maybe opportunities are going to come from it, and they probably still will. It just might not happen right away. And it is such a big thing. Like Miss Universe, you go there and then you come home and it's like, what just happened? How can I even like process this? So I don't know. I think it's a very interesting world that, I mean, I feel like you really can't understand what it's like unless you're there as a chaperone, like you did a couple times for Miss Universe Canada, or unless you compete, which most people will never do. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I think it's definitely a roller coaster is all I can say.
Yeah, it's such a roller coaster. And I knew that was my last pageant too. So I remember Siera being like, you can take off your heels, like you don't have to keep them on the whole time. And I just remember being like, I don't think I'm going to win because I'm wearing high heels, but this is the last experience I'm ever going to have competing like this, that I want to embrace like every moment of every time. So I think I was very aware that this was the end. And then when it was actually the end, it was okay, now what? So
Yeah.
I'm just like hanging out here. So it was really hard for me for the first 2 months. And that's another thing why I say, like, just because something doesn't happen right away doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And probably in a month or two after is when I started getting a lot more emails, a lot more messages, and people wanted me to speak here, speak there. And all I had to do was kind of just keep that spirit up, because that was going to come. I just couldn't get out of my own head. So that was an interesting couple of months. But
oh yeah, and I guess that's just a year. It just was a year a few days ago that Miss Universe happened. That's so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Time.
It feels like forever ago, to be honest.
That's true. I was going to say time flies, but also like kind of feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. It feels like a long time ago.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I wonder how Zosie's feeling. I always think about her.
I know, because
I always wonder what she's like. Yeah.
Because she had, so say, let's put ourselves a year back to December 2019. She won Miss Universe. She had December, January, February, and then COVID. So she only had 3 months of being Miss Universe, really. And then she spent the next year pretty much in her apartment. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I know, and I think about that too, because I look at the opportunities I missed, and every time I think about myself, I think Zosie. I'm like, oh my God, what did she miss? I feel so bad.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely is not the typical Miss Universe reign. What were you going to say? You hope?
I just hope I hope she's happy. I don't know. I actually have no idea. So I just really hope she's happy.
Yeah. And I think too, because she is from South Africa, pageants are so big there. Even when she is no longer Miss Universe, I feel like there's going to be a lot of opportunities for her. I mean, just for hopefully the rest of her life. Because hopefully she'll be able to travel a lot more and maybe do things that a Miss Universe would have done even when she's not Miss Universe. But anyways, I feel like we could keep chatting on and on, but I should probably wrap it up. I want to know if there's anything that you wish you would have known before you started your pageant journey. Do you have any advice for like your former pre-pageant, getting into pageant self?
Yeah, work, get a job. Get a job. And pageants cost so much money.
Yeah.
And in order to have the best experience, you also want those designer gowns. You want those extra things that maybe you don't necessarily need, but will make you feel confident or comfortable on stage. Yeah, I just think that not to worry about what you're perceived as, or try to make it work. Like, being the hardest working person in a room is never a bad thing, no matter what you're doing. So I think I would have probably worked a little bit harder to just make sure I was prepared for Miss Universe, because when it got to Miss Universe, it was not good financially. So,
I don't know, did we say this within our conversation that when you win Miss Universe Canada, you do not win prize money? So you're pretty much on your own to figure things out, to get your wardrobe together. You have a little bit of help depending on your situation, in terms of like the director helping you a little bit, but you're ultimately like on your own. So you want to be in a position where you can afford to buy what you want and, present yourself how you want.
And especially, I had two amazing coaches, like Guy and Miguel, who did everything for me. Literally were the best thing that ever happened, and I can't thank them enough for that. But I wish I could have provided even for them too, for helping me. So it's just this whole thing where if the sponsors aren't there, then I would love to do it on my own.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to. So I think that's the biggest thing, is should have saved up all those years.
saved up for a couple more years prior. Well, that's good advice. And moving forward in life, I mean, we can always save more. I feel like save for future things happening in life. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your stories and being so open, and you're fabulous as always. So it was great to chat again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Universally Judged. Be sure to subscribe to our show and leave us a review. If you want more great content, find us on Instagram at Universally Judged. See you next week.